So the recent Katt Williams interview by Shannon Sharpe in his podcast club, Shay has went nuclear. And I'm going to give my 2 cents on it, and then I'm going to leave it alone. So, first of all, shout out to Shannon Sharpe. Great interview. A lot of people are hating on him, I think because of his numbers. I don't think they really care about his interviewing skills, to be honest. But you got a few people like Steven Jackson having this little 2 cents to say about it when he had nothing else to say about all his other interviews that did millions of views. But this one just went nuclear, and it just seems like people want to now critique his interviewing skills. I thought the interview was about the interviewee and not the interviewer, okay? People don't go and click on these interviews to hear what the person that's interviewing the interviewee has to say. They want to hear what the person that they're interviewing has to say. And Katt Williams, as soon as he came in, the first 35 minutes, he just went in. He didn't hold any punches. He said what he needed to say. Shannon Sharpe didn't even get 1 or 2 words out for the first 30 minutes. And I like that interviewing style. I think that's refreshing. So for these other guys to hate on him, just because he has a viral interview, y'all can cut it out. And Katt, a lot of the things he said were true. A lot of the things he said were questionable. But it was 100% entertaining. And he joked about Ludacris and him going to an Illuminati meeting. And one of them had to cut their hair and their chops, their sideburns, for a 10-movie deal for $200 million. I thought that was funny. I know he was joking about that. Some people thought he was serious about it. If you think about it, Ludacris, he didn't start being in the Fast and Furious movies until the 2nd movie, and then he didn't come back until the 5th movie. So at total, that's 7 movies. So who's to say he's not wrong? I mean, there might be another 3 movies to total to 10. But right now, he's at 7. So we'll see what happens with that prophecy, right? Another thing he said, he was talking about Jonathan Majors and how he looked and, his career and everything like that. That was pretty funny. He touched on a lot of things, man. He touched on Cedric the Entertainer. He touched on Steve Harvey, which is an individual I do not like. He doesn't practice what he preaches. He wants to tell men how they should be and how they should live their lives, and he doesn't live his life accordingly. He wants to talk about marriage and all this, but he doesn't. He's been married 2-3 times already. He didn't get it right the first time. So why should we listen to you, Steve? So yeah, he's an individual I don't really like. As far as the Cedric the Entertainer, the jokes look similar. What he's saying possibly could be true. I wasn't there, so I don't know. What else he talked about? He talked about Chris Tucker a little bit. He talked about Michael Blackson, another comedian that's not funny. He touched on a lot of issues, a lot of Hollywood type of stuff. It's been validated, and a lot of stuff's been said before, so it's got to be some truth to it, And it was just very interesting. It was very interesting. The interview was almost 3 hours long. And all 3 hours, I was just glued to the screen. I have never watched an interview where I would just replay the whole entire interview over and over. I had to watch that thing 3 times. Very interesting stuff. Very good interview. Shout out again to Shay, man. Great. You're doing a good job over there, man. Love your show. I love your energy. Just the way you format your podcast, man, it's brilliant. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to any of the haters. They're going to hate because your numbers are up. After recording of this video, I believe you're close to 40 million views in less than a week. That's crazy. That is crazy. So you're doing something right. Straight up. But yeah, Katt Williams had a lot on his mind. He had a lot he wanted to say, and he got to say it. And that man talked about everything. And I mean everything. And this is the most I've heard Katt talk about any and everything in a long time. I think the last interview that he did that was at least an hour long was the one with Mike Tyson. Other than that, he's doing interviews for 15, 20 minutes, promoting something or talking about things he had going on, So he is a controversial figure, They talked about the Wanda Smith radio show incident, which, if you look back, was crazy because the outcome of that situation resulted in her husband pulling a gun out on him just for him telling jokes. And they both were telling jokes, right? And she threw the first rock. She talked about, him being in jail and stuff like that. They already discussed that they weren't going to talk about that, but they did anyways. So don't dish it if you can't take it, right? He talked about a lot of good stuff, man. He touched on the Bernie Mac situation and how they chose him to be the fourth king of comedy once Bernie passed. If you think about that past too, Steve Harvey's a snake. He tried to take that guy's role on Ocean's 11. And he tried to portray himself as a stand-up guy, and behind closed doors, he's really a snake. Regardless of how you feel about Katt Williams, he's a very intriguing and intelligent individual. And whatever side that you decide to be on, because at the end of the day, you got to understand, he's telling his truth. It doesn't mean it's the 100% total truth. You got his truth, you got their truth, and you got somewhere that lies in the middle, right? And most of the time, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. So everything that he's saying and telling everybody isn't 100% face value, okay? He's telling his side, his truth. So I hate, and I can't stand when people get online and saying, he's telling the truth. He's telling the truth about everything. He's telling his truth. Okay, a lot of it is validated, but it's not 100% total truth, okay? But at the end of the day, man, it has to be one of the best interviews I've seen in the last few years. And it started 2024 out with a bang. I'm talking about started with a bang. And he's got the whole internet shook. And he's got people not responding to anything that he claimed that they did. Which means, again, could be some validity to that, right? Kevin Hart hasn't really replied, and he probably won't. I think Steve Harvey kind of joked a little bit on his show. But at the end of the day, I think the only one who outright replied, or the only two people that outright replied, was Ricky Smiley and Cedric the Entertainer. And another thing that's kind of messed up, I did catch this when Katt Williams said, how does he lose a child, and then said just kind of stuff. I thought that was in poor taste, to be honest. You can't equate somebody who had a role, whether or not they felt they deserved a role or not, and you end up getting a role, and that was your breakout role that started your career, and for them to possibly take credit for getting the role, you can't equate that to someone losing their son. And the internet also needs to leave Ricky Smiley alone, man, just a little bit, because that man is suffering right now. It's been a year since he lost his son. And you got people posting. He was crying on his radio show, I believe, online. And people took that little clip and they posted online that he was crying about what Katt Williams said about him. And I just thought that was in poor taste, man. That man is going through it right now, man. Think about when you lost a loved one, somebody that you hold close to your heart, someone near and dear to you, and you lose them, let alone your own child. So have some grace for that man, okay? I get it. We all can agree or disagree with Katt Williams about that situation. But that has nothing compared to him losing his child. Nothing at all. So just give a little bit of grace for that man, okay? Again, whether you like Ricky Smiley or not, whether you like Katt Williams or not, those two things don't correlate with each other. They're not equal, right? If Katt Williams feels a certain way about that particular thing that man said, that's one thing. But him losing his child, man, you got to have some grace. That's the only pushback I have about that on the interview. But overall, man, great interview. It's going to be one for the ages. He might break records with this one. But he's definitely broken the internet, and he has a lot of people's attention.